Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Talking Movies with your host, Sean, aka Puff Comics 83. We are back, and I'm joined by my co-host, my co-worker here, Varangian Vigilante. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well. First time watching this movie, Blue Collar, and I have to say it probably wouldn't have been a movie that I would have ever watched because it's like absolutely not my genre. But watching it was very interesting. Not only because I think at one part it deals with a very universal problem, as we can see also in the quotes that we have both chosen. And on the other hand, I think it's a very interesting look deep into the abyss of US American culture and how the unions work there, how generally working is in the US, because it's so vastly different than it is here in Europe. While on the other hand, that the problems are sort of the same. It's just like the whole structure in the US is like very different. So I think it was a very I think, and what I read about it is like it's very close to the real deal. That the director really did like the proper research, and so that this is like a very proper mirroring of how the system in the US worked at that point, and probably still works now, because as I know from world politics, I don't think that the problems really have changed that much. It's still like inflation sucks. It's like everything gets more expensive than we're getting paid.
Here's a quote from Zeke. He said that wages ain't the problem. It's the prices. Everything is goddamn high. And it's like the movie established that they had a strike a few years prior, and the union fought for them to get increased wages. At the same time, after they got those increased wages, the price has gone up.
Yeah, it's like it's almost as if somebody pushes a button. And,
it's like it's a no-win situation.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that your wages go up ever so slightly. Because everything else explodes and go up in prices.
Yeah.
Look at the situation with eggs now.
Yeah, doesn't it feel like that? I would say that the economic system that exists is a little bit flawed.
Super. It's like companies don't want to raise your wages, and then when they raise it, it's just $1 or $2 more. But then everything else go up, and it's like, man, it's like the increase in wage didn't really help, because now when I go up, they go up even more, double, triple it. But man, like, this movie does not get talked about a lot. Like, there's a few reviews on YouTube, but there is not a massive amount of people talking about it.
It was also not that easy to obtain it here. There was a Blu-ray release in German, but that one has been sold out ever since. So I think it was like a very small print run. But luckily in the UK they did an edition recently by Indicator, which is a fantastic company. Like they really give, especially such niche films, a very proper releases. So I really think that despite the talent that is in this film, you have Yaphet Kotto, you have Richard Pryor, you have Harvey Keitel, you have like a very small scene with Tracy Watt, where I'm like, he's like, wait a moment, it's Tracy Watt. And and also Ed Beatley Jr., where I'm like, hey, I know this guy from Arrested Development.
Yeah, the rest of the cast is pretty solid. And they do their job particularly very well, you know. But the main three leads in this movie really shine, and that's in spite of them real life hating each other on set.
Yeah, didn't also the director sort of promised everybody that they're the lead role?
The one thing about this film is that while they did a phenomenal job in the acting department, behind the scenes, Richard Pryor was so coked out of his mind. And this was during that period when Richard Pryor was a genius when it comes to whatever movie he was doing, but he was unhinged on set because of cocaine and because of his erratic behavior. And this movie in particular, he especially did not get along with Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
And the director, he pointed a gun at him because he told the director, I am not doing more than 3 takes a scene, and that's it.
Yeah.
And the director of this film, Paul Schrader, he was so stressed out and so worn out that he literally like went into like deep depression because of how his treatment was with this film.
Let's just say it's good that the Polish character was played by Harvey Keitel and not by Kinski. Just imagine Kinski and Pryor both.
Oh my God! You talk about the level of maniacs on the set with those two. Alone, you add cocaine to it. Forget about it. Forget about it.
I would.
Then you
I
got
would pay.
Yappa Kotto in this film.
I would both work necromancy and bring them back to work in a movie together because that would be just interesting.
Now, one thing about Yappa Kotto, like, yeah, he was great in this film.
Yeah.
That death scene was fucking brutal to watch.
That, like I said, it didn't make sense at all, but it was like really, it's one of these death scenes where you just watch it and you're almost like the camera is uncomfortably long, like on him.
And the way he was moving through that area, it was like, God, man, I would have got under the car or at least get out of harm's way. And just,
or like just smash the glass like in the beginning that like hit it in the end. Yeah,
but yeah, that was pretty hard to watch, even if it didn't make sense. It's still
it's still very well shot. It's and I really think that the funny thing is that despite he's like an ex-con, the character Smokey, played by Yappa Kotto, that he is actually the most moral character in that movie. That really like the way also he protects like Cherry's family and everything. He felt like the only dude that wouldn't stab the others in the back.
Now here's a guy that will fuck us over to get the money and then continue to do it just for fun. And that's exactly what he will do.
Yeah, because fuck the system.
But he also fell trapped to the system because he dealt with a loan shark. Yeah, and when you watch Smokey, you see he's got a nice place to stay at. It looks lavish and he's got all this thing. He had the money to get all the cocaine for them to have their fun party. And you like, how he got this nice place here, man? This place looked pretty decent. It looked pretty good. Like he's got a lot of money. And find out later on that he's in league with loan sharks. And one thing when you're in league with loan sharks, they want their money back.
Yes. It's like because it's all about money and power.
And corruption. Ultimately.
Yeah, it's a.
And I will reference my father because I spoke to him a few days ago. He worked in the unions and both Con Ed and the post office, and he knows 100% that is shady, crooked, and a lot of people end up getting scarred by the the bullshit that goes on there. And that's one thing that this movie in particular really highlights is how money is involved, but when it comes to the workers, their money really don't matter to the union. It's the money that matters to the people in charge.
Yeah, and it's like also like with some union people that there are basically like a very solid foundation of newly built buildings sometimes.
Yeah.
So they're literally in the foundation.
and this is what makes Zeke's character so interesting, because at the beginning he hates Clarence Hill because of his locker situation. He calls him a shitty shop steward, but he also foreshadows his own fate later on by saying in the beginning, if I was shop steward, I would be in my expensive car and hang out with big names and stuff like that in the big house and stuff, basically predicting that he wants the power.
Yeah, basically also saying that because there's like a thing that if it would have said, I want to be in the position, no one would have had any of these problems. He just said, I just wanted to be in his position. I don't want to make things better. I just want to make things better for me.
Exactly. What's to stop him from wanting that house that Clarence Hill has in the suburbs? Yeah. Because once he got shop steward, he got all the benefits and was able to buy a big house. So now that's what Zeke wants.
I love the scene when the auditor visited him. He's like, "Don't say this about Uncle Sam."
My favorite part though is when he had to name off the kids.
The kids, yeah.
Sugar Ray Brown, Gloria Brown, O.J. Brown, Gail Sayers Brown, Jim Brown, and the ultimate kicker, Stevie Wonder Brown.
Stevie Wonder.
Oh my god.
Yeah, what the movie does really well is that it has humorous parts in it, but they never. It never feels like a comedy. It's.
I'll say this real quick. The first time I watched it, when I saw it was Richard Pryor, Harvey Keitel, I was like, "Oh shit!" Richard Pryor film with Harvey Keitel and Yaphet Kotto. The first scene I see is the robbery scene. When them coming out of the bank door with those fucking
masks,
the eyeballs and the teeth. I'm like, yo, this is comedy straight up.
Like when they later asked the security that they KO'd, it's like there was like two black dudes and a white. And how did they look? The white one had an arrow through the head.
So I'm like, yo, that wasn't a good way to introduce the movie if you just coming in on that scene, because you think it's a comedy, but then as the movie gets forward, it gets darker.
Yeah, it does.
And yes, they did have a good amount of humor, and a lot of it will come from Richard. But again, I thought he did a phenomenal job acting, and I always thought Richard Pryor was an underrated actor because he had a couple of serious movies, and I'm like, he can act when you give him the right vehicle.
And it's so interesting because first it was like, it's like, who's Richard Pryor? It's like, how is he? He doesn't have a mustache.
You used to that mustache to the point.
I think it's the first movie that I've seen with him where he didn't have a mustache.
It's like they took the mustache and gave it to Yaphet Kotto.
Yeah.
But like the way his performance was, he would say funny lines and he would act very angry, but the way he delivered them, especially later on when shit really got serious and he went to the side of being the shop steward, that scene with him and Harvey on the porch, them talking, to me was the most poignant scene in the film because it really showed how the sides had switched and how Zeke has now gotten the position of power that he wanted, and Jimmy is left on the outside.
It was so visible also like at work, when you ever were in a job where one of the boys got promoted and suddenly hey Kenneth, and suddenly the whole dynamic was like no longer existent.
And I say this is one of the things I learned real early. When you're a worker, right, and you're cool and stuff like that, we talk. But there are times where they'll switch over to be a supervisor.
Yeah.
And that is when things change. Because we can't be buddy no more. It's like you done crossed over that line and they're gonna be hard on you, which means you're gonna have to be hard on us. So I'm like, I have to make sure I disassociate myself. Like, yeah, we saying hi and stuff like that, but I can't be in conversation with you like we used to be. Because now you're on that line.
And every information is basically every information can get weaponized.
Exactly. And you learn real quick that they can turn things against you and end up forcing you to get in trouble.
Yeah. That's why I never ever kept any working relationship. This is why I currently absolutely love it, that my boss is the only one that I'm in contact with, and I'm working from home office, so I don't have any contact with people, which is wonderful, I have to say. Because in my old job, when I was teaching, the students were not the problem. Like, the students were all fantastic, but I really despised some of my coworkers.
They be the worst. And here, you got the good workers that I lean towards, and I'm like, yo, if I'm gonna work this 150 pallet load that I gotta break down, give me that guy, because I know he's gonna work. Don't give me the bad workers that you automatically know that are like they're shitty and stuff like that. Like, nah, don't give me him. But it's those ones in between, the two-facers, the ones that can play both sides. They can be good workers, but they also have the bad side of they can stab you in the back. They know how to talk. They can get political and move up the ladder when you know that they're just as devious as the bad workers.
Yeah, we have this thing in German, like some people that nach oben buckeln und nach unten treten, which basically means they're kneeling upwards and they're kicking downwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
They do things to get themselves elevated.
Yes, it's
and
like
then
those
they'll keep you down.
There's a special sort of hell for people like that.
And I despise those type of people.
Yes,
they try and earn your trust with how they talk.
Yeah.
But then they'll stab you in the back so quick that by the time you turn around to see who it was, they gone. It's like in Enter the Dragon when what's his name sliced Bruce back and he turns around and they disappear.
Yeah, it's like, and then I think this is like, I think a lesson we all have to learn, especially like in our first jobs, where there was also like, when suddenly which is because after business school, before I went to university, I worked 2 jobs, and in the first one, I was actually so shocked because it was like in a big company, and where I was just like, sitting at dinner with others from like people from other parts of the company, and it was just like talking honest, nicely, and then somebody from my part told me, it's like, never tell them anything. It's like, but we're all working for the same company. Don't we have like the goal to make the company better? It's not how it works. That was like a very blue-eyed, innocent, teenage Thorsten, thinking like the world can be a good place. It's not.
It can't, because you got people that are truly good, and they like, yo, I want to just associate with them because I know I can rely on them. They'll get the job done. But if you got those two-faced bastards, they can work, but they work when they want to work.
Yes.
And if they pair you with that person, guess what? They'll do some work, then they'll go fuck around for 30 minutes. They say, oh, I gotta go use the bathroom. And then they let you do work for 30, 40, sometimes an
Yeah.
hour. By the time they come back, you damn near done the whole damn near thing yourself. And I'm like, yo, don't put me with this guy, because he tried to play that fucking shit with me. And I'm like, I'm not doing all the work. I'm not carrying all this work just for him to go fuck around and lollygag.
Yeah, which you know, it's like also the funny thing is not only work. Like I also know this from university. You know, I absolutely hated group works because you always
that same thing. When you in those classes, you always have one or two that don't hold up their end of the bargain. We all got different assignments. I do mine, submit it. They do theirs, submit it. But then they submit it at the last fucking moment when they're like, bro, we needed this shit earlier.
Yeah, it's remind me that when I was already right before I did my master's degree, that there was like also a group project, and I was like with other 3 people, and I was like, you know what, like I'm too old for this shit. Is you all 3 do nothing, I do the whole thing because we're faster that way, and I know I can rely on myself. And I'm just doing it. You just all like I give everybody what they have to do their part, but all of you don't have to do anything. It's just like because I know it that there would be one person who wouldn't hand it in. There would be maybe one person who would do a decent job, and another person that is just absent until the thing start.
And this movie just highlights the issues between the working man and the corporate side of things.
Yeah.
And the worst thing about the union is that they're supposed to represent the workers, but you can't look and say back the company. Because then the workers are going to look at you like, how can you side with them when you're supposed to be with us? And that creates the problem. When I talked to my father, he said they had to vote out the shop steward because she was more in favor of the company. I'm like, how can you be in favor of the company and allowing them to dictate shit when you're supposed to help us out?
Yeah, I do have to say that here in Austria, we have Gewerkschaften, which is sort of like unions, that here actually they are doing like a very decent job, and they're very tough on corporate. So a lot of people that were like fired in an unlawful way got like their job back or they got reimbursed. So here they're doing it like, you know, I'm talking a lot of shit about the state and everything, but I really think that the unions here actually do like a decent job. And there's also the thing that basically union workers are like in a position that they can't be fired, so they're secure from pressure from corporate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is like one of the few things where I believe that this works sort of correct in the country here.
Because it damn sure don't work. The problem now is a lot of companies don't want unions at all. There's only a few companies that have unions, but majority of companies don't want nothing to do with unions. Yeah. They want to have the right to say, you get in trouble, you fired, you gone. No, nobody's here to protect you.
Yeah, that's also the thing, of course, that the difference between like most European countries and the US, that here the state is way more involved in stuff. So, for example, here you can't fire a person and say you're gonna leave. There is except if the worker does like something illegal, then you can fire somebody immediately. But if you just say that we need like a budget cut, like they are on a certain period of security. So for example, if you quit, you still have from 30 to 90 days, depends how you long were in the company, of basically they can you still can work there while looking for a new job. So there's like a lot of security here in that way.
None over here. Yeah, and let me ask you this: would they support a man who got so frustrated at the vending machine that he drives a forklift straight through?
Yeah. That would be a reason for immediate fire. Like something like that. That would be a yeah. That it's like damaging, willfully damaging property that can get you fired
That
immediately.
property that has been neglected by the company for years to the point where he just like. First of all, I'm not putting my money in that thing if I know that it's not gonna give me the product that it's supposed to. And
But also
on top of that, I'm not gonna road rage, get on the forklift, and drive a fork right to it.
But I don't know how it is in the But I don't know how it is in the US. For example, here, those like those automats are not there by the company, but by another company who basically puts them there and putting like the stuff in and repairs them, etc. So it's like a whole industry of
yeah,
that.
because they have companies that come in and build the machines and stuff like that. But that shit was just
it was golly.
That dude was so fucking upset. He just said, "Fuck it, I don't give a fuck. I drive a forklift right through it."
It was a very relatable. Like I think we all have done this in our head.
Yeah, because the machine steals our money and don't give it back, and yet they don't even give us the product we want.
Yeah,
we all felt ripped off.
Yeah.
I was about to say something, but yeah, it's like it adds on to the frustration that the workers have with the company, and the union is not really giving them 100% support. Like the locker issue. That's a simple fix. 6 months with your locker being broke and nothing's being done. Yeah, and here's another thing. When Zeke took it up with the main guy in charge, Eddie Johnson, Eddie was one to say, get Clarence Hill on the phone. The lady told him Clarence ain't picking up, he must be out. Eddie faked the call, acting like he was talking to Clarence to say, yeah, we need to get this situated. And then bam, see, it's all fixed, see, it's going to be handled. Basically lying to the man. So that just shows you they don't give a fuck about his situation.
Yeah, they just wanted to have their peace.
Yeah.
Just like...
Now, I like the fact that we get home time a bit with Jerry and Zeke. Like, we see their family life. And Zeke has his situation. He's got 3 kids, but he put 6 on the document because, again, people tried to cheat the system. They like more dependents, more money. Yeah. And then he had another job, a secondary job that he didn't file the taxes for. So the funniest part was when he read all the money and he said $295 for the second job, and you see Zeke like, that's a sigh of relief. Like I can manage that.
Yeah, and then
3 false deductions for the 6 years, $2,460.75, and he was like, oh my god, he was screwed. How am I going to pay that?
Yeah,
and then he goes on a rant. And it's like, man, the working man always got to pay all this stuff, and the government, politicians be getting off.
Yeah, it's and I think also think like in the US, I would be totally pissed to pay taxes because that money is just wasted. Like in Europe, at least if of course, politicians are like, they're getting what they think is theirs, but at least. Like public transport here is excellent, and tickets for cultural events are cheaper because the state pays like I don't mind paying taxes, but in the US I would be furious with taxes because it's basically you're just funding U.S. imperialism,
and you're hurting the working man when all this like he's trying to make ends meet, and I love how Zeke broke it down. Like I got bills to pay, all family to feed and stuff like that, and yet y'all coming and hassling me for more money when I'm like, man, I'm trying to make things work for my family, and that's the struggle that these characters are going through.
And this is like also it really shows because like the struggle, and then when Siki was like when he was like at the uni thing, he saw like, oh, this safe is very unsecurely guarded. Like he saw the opportunity, but also by the state, and the corporate world not probably caring for the workers, bringing them into a situation where they have to contemplate to steal money. This is like a homegrown problem because of greed. It's like if you just pay people properly, very few people actually would be in any illegal activities.
And look at the job they work. It's a stressful
Yeah.
job. And when you got somebody like Dogshit Miller walking around pestering all those workers, that's where you create more problems. Because he's trying to make sure you screwed in tight and make sure this stuff. That leads to work frustration.
Yeah.
I'm not doing my job properly because you're on my back, putting all these words in my ears, and I'm getting more pissed at you than I am trying to complete this job because you're hounding me.
And sadly we all know people like this at jobs, and it's like this fucking micromanagement where like criticism is good, but it has to be like a profound constructive criticism and not be just being somebody's ear, making them nervous, and then like basically forcing the people to do a mistake because they're just sitting in the back like a fucking troll or goblin.
And when Zeke went off and when Smokey went off on them, you feel the frustration because there are times where you are so fucking mad with these assholes that even when you leave work, all you're doing is thinking about the bullshit that you went through, and you're cursing and ranting on the drive home. And it's like, man, I'm driving home stressed out.
Yeah, and even I remember like in a job once where there was also like the boss was so sometimes when I don't think that the person was like evil. I think that the person was just way above her head, that like shouldn't have never been in the position, and by like doing the mistakes and then having deadlines that can't be possibly fulfilled realistically, and then it's like, oh, putting the pressure on somebody else. And then like even when a person has done vacation, like during vacation, the whole time when you think like, oh fuck, like you can't even really enjoy vacation because you think about like that all the stress that waits for you.
And you know what, Jimmy brought up one thing about how he wished he took his vacation and didn't work it, because he was like, shit, man, why am I working at this job that's stressing me out? I should have just took that vacation. Because some jobs, if you don't take your vacation by the end of the year, you lose it. It don't carry over to the next year. Some jobs it carries over, and some jobs don't have it. And it's like, man, why the fuck I ain't take vacation, man? Because it's like, why am I wasting my time killing myself working for these clowns, and they don't respect me, they don't show no love. You work hard and all they do is give you more grief. Like, just take a vacation.
Yeah, it's...
And then Jerry's situation with his family, his daughter has teeth issues, so she needs bracelets, and he's living off of credit. And he works 2 jobs because he gas up pumps, at the gas station.
And like the house interior, he's the least Catholic Polish person.
So their family life is like it's hanging on by a thread. Let's just say that. It's hanging on by a thread. They're trying to do the best they can to provide, but at the same time, it's a lot of weight on their shoulders.
And they also need a release.
And that's where Smokey comes into play because he's single and he got all the women. So he's like, hey man, y'all want to release? Y'all want to have fun? Come to my place. I got the girls, I got the cocaines, and I got the dildos.
Just go into the hoe drain and
that's the thing. It's like they sneak away from their wives and they go have fun, and then after the fun is when the depression hits. And I like how Zeke was like, when Smokey is like, ain't y'all talking about hitting the union for the money? And Zeke was like, man, that was the coke talk. Because the cocaine will take over.
Yeah. But that orgy, but when you watch it, first of all, like, I was like really, when the orgy started in the movie, I was like, I didn't expect that in the movie. And
you didn't expect two people crawling up the hallway, getting it on.
No, I didn't expect that. But it really feels like that even P. Diddy stole his parties from the working man.
Oh man. Like I said, completely unexpected. But again, it's like that. Yeah. That's the stressful life that they have. That they just want to get away from their family and just have a good time and snort some coke and fuck some woman. But you look at the bigger picture. These guys are forced to do something that, in more ways, they want to help improve their status. And let's talk about the union and the money that they stole, because when they do the robbery, they walked out with very little. They went in thinking, oh man,
$600, I think, yeah.
They thinking it's like maybe $5,000 in there stuff. That was petty cash.
And the union, like for the insurance, they filed for $10,000.
Ridiculous.
And the moment that then they raised, like, because there was not only $600 in there, but there were also like some cooked books in there.
Yeah, and that exposed everything.
And that's where the money is.
Yeah, because they were sending money out to different banks and loans, and you're dealing with the union, you're dealing with the workers' money, and this goes back to my conversation with my father, and I was there when it happened. Where the Treasury Department of the union, the money ended up being very, very short. And I remember my father came home one day and he was furious. So he's like, where the fuck is the money? There was a lot of money in it. And the Treasury man was supposed to be involved with that. And then it went from a big number to a small number. And he's like, everybody was fuming over that. And when you see this money and you see in this movie and it says petty cash, that's all the money? And it's like, what the fuck is going on with our money that we're paying the union? We pay union fees. And that was the whole point of, the union is, if we're paying these fees, where is that money going? Because it's supposed to be in the Treasury Department.
Exactly, because it's the money of the workers, and this money is there for when there's a strike, so they can pay them. When there's when things aren't right to actually support the workingman's cause. But where's the money?
And this goes back to the beginning after their union meeting when they went to the bar. They beat a man named Burroughs, and he wants to talk about the union and the people that run it. And Smokey was quick to figure it out that he was not a college guy that he say. He was working for the FBI. And the guy was investigating their union for shady corruptness. And right then and there, everybody got defensive because they're like, that's our union. We're going to defend it. They defend us, so we're going to defend them, and we're not going to tell you shit. Yeah, but then as the movie goes on, and they start seeing things, he's like, shit, man. That guy was on to something. He was already well aware of the corruption, and now we stumbled onto it.
And the FBI has a very good eye to spot corruption because they know it from their own organization.
Everybody's corrupt. Everybody is corrupt.
Everybody's got a prize for the $1 million man.
So it's like, and again, it's like I love that Jerry is torn on it, and that's why that part where they was going through their files and like Jerry's a union guy, he'll buckle under pressure,
Yeah.
and he still was conflicted. Even towards the end, he didn't want to talk to the FBI guy because he still felt like he didn't want to go against his people. Because once you start talking to them, the workers are going to look at you and say you're a seller,
betrayer.
And that's the conflicting point of going against your union. When you walk in there, they're going to look at you and they're going to say, this guy's a sellout. He don't represent us no more. All the guys that you talk with, they want nothing to do with you. And that was the conversation Zeke had with him. It's either you come work for me, I'll make you the new foreman, or you on your own. And you're put in that tough dilemma of, do I want to be a part of this, or do I want to be on my own and my family is threatened and they can take me out like they tried to do in that chase scene? Like I said, this movie is really, really so good that it does not get talked about a lot because yes. But that's the point. When you have 3 great actors and a good supporting cast, and you tell a story that's way too realistic, they're gonna try and bury it under the sand.
Yeah, so it's like basically it's a critically acclaimed movie, and we shall not talk about it anymore.
And that's why this movie rarely got played on TV. Like the few times it got played, it was either late at night, or if it came on during the day, it was once and that was it, never replayed.
Yeah, you don't want to give the people ideas.
It's like the spook who sat by the door. Yeah, the FBI had to shut that shit down because that movie will give people ideas.
Yeah, it's like sometimes it's like, and there's nothing more dangerous in this world than questions.
Nothing more dangerous. And when you really like watch these films, you start to go into your situation and like, I've seen this on TV, or I've seen this movie, or I read a book, because I got the Spook Who Sat by the Door book, and I'm halfway through that. That's a great read. Yes. But yeah, it's like you really start to be aware of certain things that's happening, and that's why it's important. It's very important for people to watch stuff, read stuff, and do their own investigation, because you may not know what truly is going on in your own company.
Yeah, and the thing is like that, and that's like the really sad thing, because in the past, especially before university, I worked for a big corporation, I worked for a very small corporation, and then a very small like family business, and that it's just there. I have never ever witnessed a company where things just go smooth, where there's always problems. There's always something sketchy.
Same thing with me. There's always something sketchy. I don't really want to talk about it on air or what happened at my job. I'll talk.
Yeah, so you don't want to disappear.
Yeah. I don't want to disappear. Then you hit me up and I'm not answering. Like, oh damn, they got him.
Yeah.
But the things that happen, I've seen people walked out at the post office because of stealing, because of committing some felonies and doing things they should not do, and they will literally walk you through the entire building, make sure they take every path so everybody can see. It's the most shameful moment in your life when you getting walked out and everybody.
It's almost like when it seems from some military movies and somebody get decorated there.
Yeah, it's like they make sure that the whole plant sees you. They know what you did, and now you're being shamed. And when you really see the certain things that happen in this film, and another scene that I really liked was when Zeke confronted Dogshit Miller, and then after that confrontation, he went to talk to his workers, and he ridiculed one of the guys because he said, "You wouldn't do shit in the situation if you was in it, because you say you won't do something, but then you'll just bend over backwards and let them do you just to say get it on with and move on because you ain't got the backbone. And like I said, I had to step up and say, no, enough is enough to my boss like last year. Because I'm like, look, man, this is bullshit. Y'all tell me one thing, but then you're gonna go around and tell me something other, and then I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? Y'all can't make up your minds. And I had to go and stand on business. And I had to talk to the guy, and he respected me for stepping to him.
And you gotta do that because first of all, if you're a good worker, there is a shortage of good workers, and you really need to know your worth, and you really have to stand up in such a situation, because if you don't, they will just
walk all over you.
They want to just bend you over and go in town. It's like, and because that's the thing. If you're like a good worker, I think especially like in the US, like you can immediately get another job.
And here's another thing I struggle with. When Zeke said, if I'm gonna kiss ass, I'm gonna at least pick the ass that I want to kiss.
Yeah.
I remember when I was at the post office, and this was like maybe a year and a half in there. And I'm like, I work hard and stuff like that. Maybe if I take the test, pass the test, maybe they'll consider me. And the guy's like, well, if you're going to move up in the world, you're going to have to kiss some ass. And I'm like, I don't need to kiss ass. If I work hard, my work should be what moved me up the ladder.
It should, but
but he said, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And this is where favoritism comes into play.
And that is like sadly everywhere. It's that's something that I witnessed in every field that I was in. From being in a bureau, from at the university, from teaching. It's you always have to think back about the Christmas vacation scene, kisses ass, kisses.
And then you don't get the bonus.
Yeah.
But we seen it live on TV. The Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club.
Which is, Vince McMahon is not a good human being. But barely any human is a good human being. The thing that I respect about Vince is he put it in plain sight. He was not shitting. I mean, he was shitting, but but a different moment. But actually, he never really made like a secret about like what his comeback he is.
And he put it on full display with the Mr. McMahon character. And like when he was just Vince McMahon, the announcer, you never really saw it. But once he became Mr. McMahon, he put it on full display. And when William Regal was the first entrant at the Kiss My Ass Club, as funny as it was, it's so damn true. People will be willing to brown nose to move up. And it's those type of people that I just really don't have respect for. You don't have respect for them because they have to bend over backwards and do things that no person should do to move up. There's no reliance on hard work, dedication, and earning it. No, it's like, let me politic my way up there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When he told me that, and the more I really saw how things was working, because the one thing about the post office that they always gave the military veterans 10 points extra on the postal exam. And most of the guys that started after me as a casual, they got in the post office because they were veterans. And I started feeling more and more discouraged. And nothing was more discouraging than how I took that third test. Because the first time I took the postal exam, I got a 73. The second time I took it, I got a 74. The third time, I really went hardcore the practice on the exam, because the most stressful part was the memory part, where you have to memorize stuff and then write it down on the next page. And I had to drive all the way down to West Palm Beach to take that exam. I went in very confident, and I felt like I exceeded with the memory, and I did everything perfect. I got the score a couple months later. I got a 75. That was like the biggest gut shot, because I felt like I should have at least done well and got an 85. But when I saw that score, I'm like, it felt, I was so deflated that I've lost all hope of getting in the post office. And that was such a discouraging moment that's when my frustration really started to take hold of me when it comes to dealing with these people. Because I felt like had I got in the post office and been a regular worker and not just a temp casual, then I'm like, I can deal with the shit because I'm a regular employee.
Yeah.
Now I have job security. I can deal with the union. I got my father by my side, so I can work that out. But because of that, my frustration and my entire morale just went downhill, and I just stopped giving a fuck. I stopped working hard. I just worked just to work and leave.
It's understandable. Like I don't even fault anybody for it, because I think we all been there when we just checked out of a job because also the job is not giving us anything. It's basically I'm working just as much as it values what I'm getting paid, but I'm not doing anything further than what I have to do.
Yeah, it's like I'm not progressing further, and it just got to the point where I gave up. I'm like I'm just gonna work until I either quit or I get fired, and I just didn't give a fuck no more. And I hated that feeling.
Because it's not a good feeling. It's because we all, I think deep down we all want to do something that we're proud of.
Yeah, when you work hard, there's a sense of like I got the job done under pressure. Like you feel like you earned something and you like achieve a goal that, especially when they put all that weight on you and you got it done, you felt like you achieved something. But then they don't look at it and say, well, here's $10 off at the movie theater. Go see a movie. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's the reward I get for all this hard work? You have me do all this shit, carry all this mail, and you give me a $10 off movie ticket certificate. I'm like, the fuck out.
Didn't even pay for popcorn.
It's that type of feeling. Like when Smokey was just cursing out Miller, that was the feeling I had with supervisors. It's like, fuck this motherfucker.
This movie, it sadly is very relatable, and I think this is also what makes it a very interesting movie, but not a fun movie at points.
It's not a fun movie because you're gonna feel angry because you experience everything.
It's not one of those movies where I'm like, order the pizza, let's watch Blue Collar. It's not one of those
But
movies.
I will say, there's a lot of great quotes in this film.
There's the quotes. It's the script is it's a piece of art. The script and the
words it hit.
Yeah, exactly, and also like the emphasis on certain words. It's just that the director really knew that what has to be done at what point.
I mean, what when a supervisor come up to you as a black man, and he said, "Do you pick cotton this slow?" Knowing the history of the plantations, and that word was brought up. That's the word plant is short is just short for plantation.
Yeah.
And it's like the shit really hits you, and you look at a supervisor that says that, the man should be fired for just evicting to say that.
Yeah, it's there is banter at work, and then there's this.
And he said it in a disparaging way.
Exactly, and it was not even in a tone where it's like, "Hey, fun." No, it was like.
And you saw the guy. He gave him the middle finger as he walked away.
Yeah, that was in a tone of malice.
Malice and straight racism.
Yeah.
For you to say that, it's like, come on. And it's like when Zeke was like, "I kill you," I'm like, that's exactly the mentality that I will have, or anybody will have, when they're dealing with an asshole like that. Because he just agitates you so much, and then he say all the wrong things to the point where. And I'll tell you another story. One guy, and this was before I saw the post office, but they told the story. One supervisor there, I will not say his name, but he was a fucking asshole, and he paranoid, micromanaging, all over the place.
That's the worst.
One guy had to call the police on him because he kept antagonizing him, and he like, fuck it, I'm calling the police. And when the police came there, he said, I called the police, but y'all to save this man from me, because something's going to happen, and it's going to be his fault, and I'm going to fuck him up. This is where going postal, the whole time going postal is right there.
I can beat that story. In my second job, the boss was an absolute maniac, micromanaging, paranoid to the fuck, and there was like this moment like where I went to the toilet and just did my peeing thing, number one peeing thing, and then the toilet was not working, was not flushing.
Oh boy.
And like just like, what should I do? Go back. And then my boss comes in. It's like, what is it? He's like, the toilet wasn't flushing. What should I do? I can't like. And
he had no plunger in there.
And it's like, no, there was nothing. And he, you know what he did?
Oh,
he said like I should go with him to the toilet and show him how I peed. Like the fucking like the hell no.
I'll kick him in the nuts and pull out my Johnson and piss all over him.
He's like, okay, we can do that if you pose as the toilet. Like,
shit.
It's like I was just sitting there. You know when you think you're like in a wrong movie, and it's like. Let's just say this was the same job where I told you in the pre-show where I was quitting because I also had to do the job of the bookkeeping because the fucking bookkeeping was ill every 2 weeks, and where I just like, it's like, that's it, I'm going to university, fuck everybody.
Screw it, man.
Screw it, like I mean, I have to say I'm very happy actually. Because maybe if the boss would have been better, I would have not gone to university, and I would not have now the job that I really love. So actually, thank that person for being an absolute psychopath.
When you deal with guys like that, you just want to get away, and you can't tolerate working with people like that.
That's just even like also my coworkers are like looking like.
But, the whole thing with Smokey, like they knew they had to hush him up. But
because with Smokey, there was no pressure they could do because he's just doing his thing.
But the thing is, I think of Armin Zola from Captain America: Winter Soldier, and the whole thing like accidents will happen. And that's what the people will do. They will make it seem like an accident, a negligence on Miller's part.
They did Arnim Zola dirty in the MCU.
Huh?
They did Arnim Zola dirty in the MCU.
Yeah, but that's
another bad German representation.
But I'll admit that's one of my favorite scenes in Winter Soldier because of how he just broke down everything that was happening.
I mean, Winter Soldier is probably, objectively, I think, the best MCU movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when he say that, and you see certain things, like people will make accidents happen when they know that was not an accident. That was deliberate.
Yeah.
And my father told me, like, there was a story, like, the union, especially at one of the earlier jobs, the unions was involved with the mafia. And you remember when we talked Eraser, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and how the guys at the dock, they were Italian and they ran the union?
Yeah.
Well, there was some corruption going on there. And my dad was subpoenaed. He had to go testify against something.
Yeah.
He didn't know nothing. He didn't know nothing. But he had to testify, and he was like, man, I got to get the hell out of here. This shit is getting too much. He saw a guy that he drove, guy works part of the union. He drove him home. Dude was snorting coke on the way home in the car. And Dad was like, nah, I got to get out of this place.
Yeah, it's, you know, there are toxic workplaces, and you know, as I always say, you know, I think that Hollywood should be an exception. Coke should be legally there because we're gonna get better movies when it snows in Hollywood. But otherwise, Coke in the working place is probably not a very
it's not a good
safe environment.
It's not a good mix-up, and when you involve Coke and you're trying to, like, be a part of the union and the workforce, and you're showing this example to new workers. Just like how at the beginning of the movie, when they was talking to the younger guy about smoking, his dealings in prison and stuff, and you see his face like, stuff like he's hanging around these guys, yet smoke went to jail and he killed somebody. And I was like, yo, this dude is scared as fuck just hearing this information. And yeah, there's people out there that I've talked with that has a history. You know, so it's real to life. You know, people, co-workers will say things. So this movie, man.
Yeah, it's like I said, I highly recommend to watch it.
Yes.
Because it really deals with even though it's the setting is of course very US centric, I think there's problems that are relatable sadly for everybody on this world.
And I will say the ending shot of the film was so good.
It was very well done.
Zeke
yeah,
and Jerry just going at it, and then they use that quote from Smokey, like the lifers against the new guys, the old versus the young, black versus white, all for them to keep us in our place.
Yeah, because the most fearful thing for any system, for any corporation, for any sort of power structure is united people. Because if you have like united people, then suddenly they would have to hold up their end of the bargain and care for the people. So it's way more easier to say, hey, it's basically like it's not us. It's like they are the reason why we can't give you what you deserve. It's like you know it's it doesn't work that way.
And you also gotta watch the people you deal with, because Smokey himself was involved with a loan shark, and that loan shark got busted himself, and he gave them up because hit important union stuff that you got to cover up.
Yeah.
And once he gave them up, that's what led to the union having their file and saying, this guy, he'll buck under the pressure. This guy, he wants power. This guy will fuck us over, so we got to do something about him.
Yeah, it's like really, this movie is recommended. It's out there. You have to search for this movie. It's not like one of these movies that basically just is like TV guide. Watch this TV tip for today. It's not one of those movies.
And while I agree with you, like it's not a movie that you will want to watch again so quickly. I watched it twice, because of the brilliant acting of the three.
Yeah,
because
like it's a
the acting, the quotes, the every supporting actor did their part, and the movie just resonates with me because again, when you experience all this stuff and you see it in this film, it's so damn relatable that you start thinking of all the egregiousness that you suffer from management stuff. So I won't watch it again no time soon.
Yeah.
But for this talking, I felt like there was a lot to discuss, and there's probably a lot more to discuss. But then that would lead to more rants.
Yes, this it's there's a lot of meat on that bone.
A lot of it, and again, it's a movie that I definitely would recommend anybody that have never seen it watch it.
And it's like, even when I was watching it, also I was like, why is this movie? Why is this movie like also like here like basically you have to be 18 to watch it? Where it's okay, maybe the coke and orgy and stuff, but it's like, but I still think it's
because it's Richard Pryor, man. Richard Pryor is off the chain in this.
Yeah,
film.
but I think there's a difference, and there is a difference, especially I think in the rating system here. That if you would just show like an orgy to have some sex scenes, or if it really has like a deeper meaning for the release of the worker. So because it's like every profanity and nudity and drug use you see in this movie is not in a sort of way to make it look cool to promote it. It's more like in a sort of realism, and I think that when it's like in realism, it should be like I think this movie is actually, I think you could PG-13 you could give it, like which would be like FS Cut 12, because I think it's more a thought-provoking movie than something is like, hey, let's have an orgy and do coke.
Yeah, like that scene was a scene of its own, and I just, it threw me off guard when I first seen it, because I did not expect it.
Yeah,
especially with like, what the fuck? But the movie is very deep.
Yeah,
it's very engaging with its audience, and like I said, Yaphet Kotto really, I thought all three guys stole the show. It's really hard to pick like just one over the other, because while great as Kotto was, Keitel was just as good. And then Richard,
could be also that I just that I was just more empathizing with
that's
Kotto's character, because Smokey I think was just the most relatable character.
Yes. But I think all three of them have relatables to the certain things. But I just felt like for Richard Pryor, who's always known for comedy, he really showed his acting chops in this film.
And that's the thing, that a lot of comedians have all the knowledge that they need for drama movies, because what you learn with comedy is timing, and timing is very essential for every sort of acting. So this is something which you can really see with Pryor, that everything that he says in that role is like so on point.
And it's amazing, like a lot of the movies he did where he's so high on coke, but yet he still was able to deliver his lines with a high energy. Literally high energy. and again, it's like the performances of the three leads in this film is just awesome. And I'm glad we was able to talk it. Like I've talked about this movie in the past, like, man, we gotta talk this film, because it does not get talked about enough.
So next Friday is the Valentine's Day, so you want to do the Western.
Yeah, the Thomasina and Bushrod. This is a movie that we talked about like we want to do, because Vanetta McGee and Max Julian is in it, and it's a Western, and it's a movie that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. So
you had me at Vanetta McGee.
Yeah. And Al is good for the following week to do
awesome.
Petey Wheatstraw, so he's down for that.
Looking forward. Also, the Comical Crew stream was very interesting last weekend.
Yes, and we will be back tomorrow night. I'm not sure of the starting time, but we will do part 2 tomorrow night, and I will be able to be part of it because Sunday night I had to work, so I could not make that one, but I shared it on my channel regardless. So I'll be back on it tomorrow night. But yeah, great stream, great discussion. Like I said, there's probably other things we didn't talk about.
But
if we talk about it, it'll probably lead to more rants because that's just how this movie is. Like, we're gonna talk about personal things, and I don't really want to stress out.
It's like I don't want to sit. I would love to sit until like 3 a.m, but like something.
You don't want to be remembering about stuff that pisses you off.
Yeah. Because probably after 3 hours stream we can have like an old dildo party.
No. Oh man. But yeah, I even had to edit the thumbnail because I used the image with Richard and Harvey, and I was like, man, I got to get Yaphet Kotto in there, man.
Yeah.
I had to get him in there. But yeah, great discussion. We'll be back next week for Thomasina and Bushrod. That should be a great discussion as well as we continue on Black History Month. So with that, VV, Sean, we are signing off. Later, everybody.